Hola, me llamo Alcalde Oliver Gilbert, and we've gone virtual. Now, while you're staying at home, I wanted to make sure the activities you enjoyed could be brought to you online. Join me with Spanish lessons with Dr. Jackson. Let's learn Spanish together.
Hola y bienvenidos a la clase de español. Hi and welcome to Spanish class. I am Dr. Jackson and I'm so happy that you all are joining me here today. Today we're going to be working on reflexive verbs. Verbos reflexivos. Verbos reflexivos. Verbos reflexivos. Okay, let's go on and start with our first slide. Okay, so here we're going to start by reviewing the indirect object pronouns. Pronombre de objeto indirecto. Okay, so to or for me, you would say me. To or for you, te. To or for him, for her, or it, le. To or for us, nos. To or for them, or you all, les. Okay, so let's review that again. To or for me, me. To or for you, te. To or for him, for her, or it, le. To or for us, nos. To or for them, or you all, les. Okay, let's move on to the next slide for the placement of the indirect object pronouns. So indirect object pronouns, the one we just reviewed, me, te, le, nos, and les, are placed either before a conjugated verb or attached to the end of an infinite. Okay? So let's look at when it's before the verb. So if you're asking the question, are you going to give the book to Elena? ¿Le vas a dar el libro a Elena? You see the le before. ¿Le vas a dar el libro a Elena? ¿Le vas a dar el libro a Elena? Okay, yes, I'm going to give the book to Elena. Sí, le voy a dar el libro a Elena. Sí, le voy a dar el libro a Elena. When it's after the infinite, are you going to give the book to Elena? Same question. ¿Vas a darle el libro a Elena? So you added le to dar, to give. ¿Vas a darle el libro a Elena? So yes, I'm going to give the book to Elena. Sí, voy a darle el libro a Elena. Sí, voy a darle el libro a Elena. Let's review that again. Let's review the placement of the indirect object pronouns again. So either before the conjugated verb or attached to the end of an infinite, okay? And excuse me, of an infinitive, okay? So before the verb, le vas a dar el libro, le vas a dar el libro. Are you going to give it a Elena? Sí, le voy a dar el libro. Okay, so that is before the conjugated verb. Now the next one is when it's attached to the infinitive. All right, the infinitive being dar, to give. ¿Vas a darle el libro a Elena? Sí, voy a darle el libro a Elena. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so what are reflexive verbs? They are used to tell that a person is doing something to him or to herself. Okay? Reflexive verbs have two parts: the reflexive pronoun that we went through before, me, te, se, nos, le, and a verb form. So to wash oneself, lavarse. Lavar is the verb form, to wash. And se is the reflexive pronoun. Okay? Let's move on to the next slide so we can review more verbs. Okay, so here we have a table or a chart with a few verbs. So we just went through lavarse, to wash oneself, lavarse. Now, to or for myself, you add o, okay? If you're talking about me. To or for yourself, you add as, okay? When you're talking about te. To or for himself, herself, or itself, you add a to the end, okay? To the infinitive. To or for ourselves, you add amos. To or for themselves, or you all, or each other, you add ang. Okay? So let's go through the first one. Lavarse, to wash oneself. Me lavo. Me, talking about myself, I wash myself. Me lavo. Me lavo. Okay? Tú lavas. Okay? Tú te lavas. Talking about you. You wash yourself. Te lavas. Te lavas. Okay? Talking about him or herself. Se lava. Se lava. Okay? To or for ourselves, nos lavamos. Nos lavamos. Okay? Themselves, se lavan. All right? Let's move to the next word. Cepillarse, to brush oneself. If you're talking about brushing your teeth, your hair, cepillarse. Cepillarse. Remember, double L's make a Y sound. Cepillarse. Me cepillo. Me cepillo. You te cepillas. Te cepillas. He or she or himself or herself, se cepilla. Se cepilla. Ourselves, nos cepillamos. Nos cepillamos. And themselves or you all, se cepillan. Se cepillan. Okay, next word, levantarse. To get oneself up. Levantarse. Levantarse. Me levanto. Me levanto. You te levantas. Te levantas. To or for himself or herself, se levanta. Se levanta. Se levanta. To or for ourselves, nos levantamos. Nos levantamos. To or for themselves, se levantan. Se levantan. Okay, next word. Despertarse. To wake oneself up. Despertarse. Despertarse. Me despierto. Me despierto. Me despierto. Right? Tú te despiertas. Te despiertas. Te despiertas. He or she se despierta. Se despierta. Ourselves, nos despertamos. Nos despertamos. Nos despertamos. And themselves, or you all, se despiertan. Se despiertan. Se despiertan. Okay, let's review these. Slide one more time. Okay, so the verb lavarse, to wash oneself. If I'm doing it to myself, you add me. You, te. Te, as. Se, to him or herself, a. To ourselves, amos. To themselves, or you all, an. Okay? So, me lavo. Se lava, te lavas. Se lava. Nos lavamos. Se lavan. Next word, cepillarse. Me cepillo. Te cepillas. Se cepilla. Nos cepillamos. Se cepillan. Levantarse, to get oneself up. Me levanto. Te levantas. Se levanta. Nos levantamos. Se levantan. Despertarse, to wake oneself up. Me despierto. Te despiertas. Se despierta. Nos despertamos. Se despiertan. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Let's practice a few more. Okay, so the verb sentarse. Okay, so to sit oneself down, excuse me. Sentarse. Me siento. I, me siento. You, te sientas. Te sientas. To or for himself or herself or itself. Se sienta. Se sienta. To or for ourselves. Nos sentamos. Nos sentamos. Nos sentamos. To or for themselves, you all or each other. Se sientan. Se sientan. Se sientan. Okay, next word, dormirse, to put oneself to sleep. Dormirse. Dormirse. Yo, or me, me duermo. Me duermo. Because this word is ir and not ar, like in sentar or lavar, you would say te duermes. You're not gonna add as, you add es. Te duermes. Te duermes. To or for himself or herself or itself. Se duerme. Se duerme. To ourselves. Nos dormimos. Nos dormimos. Nos dormimos. To themselves, or you all or each other. Se duermen. Se duermen. Se duermen. Okay, next word, ponerse, to put on oneself. Ponerse. Ponerse. Okay, I or me, yo, me pongo. Me pongo. Me pongo. You, te pones. Te pones. This one is like dormir. Because it's el, you will not add as, you would add es. Okay? So remember, the previous videos we've said ir and are different from the ar. So here you would add es and not as. Te pones. To or for himself, herself, or itself. Se pone. Se pone. Se pone. To or for ourselves. Nos ponemos. Nos ponemos. Nos ponemos. To or for themselves, you all, or each other. Se ponen. Se ponen. Se ponen. Next word, llamarse. To call oneself. Llamarse. And you would say this speaking as what you call yourself. Okay, not actually calling yourself on the phone. What you would call yourself. Llamarse. Me llamo. Me or I, me llamo. To or for yourself. Te llamas. Te llamas. Te llamas. To or for himself, herself, or itself. Se llama. Se llama. Se llama. To or for ourselves. Nos llamamos. Nos llamamos. Nos llamamos. To or for themselves, you all or each other. Se llaman. Se llaman. Se llaman. Okay, let's review one more time, starting from sentarse. Me siento. Tú te sientas. Ellos se sientan. Nosotros nos sentamos. Ustedes se sientan. Okay? Dormirse. Me duermo. Tú te duermes. Él o ella se duerme. Nosotros nos dormimos. Ellos se duermen. Next, ponerse. Me pongo. Yo me pongo. Tú te pones. Él o ella se pone. Nosotros nos ponemos. Ellos se ponen. And llamarse. Yo me llamo. Tú te llamas. Él o ella se llama. Nosotros nos llamamos. Y ellos se llaman. All right, good. Let's move on to the next slide with some examples, ejemplos or oraciones. Ejemplos, examples, or oraciones, sentences. All right, number 1. We wash our hair. Nos lavamos el pelo. Nos lavamos el pelo. Nos lavamos el pelo. Number 2. I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Yo me levanto a las 8 de la mañana. Yo me levanto a las 8 de la mañana. Yo me levanto a las 8 de la mañana. Number 3. She wakes up very early. Ella se despierta muy temprano. Ella se despierta muy temprano. Ella se despierta muy temprano. Number 4. At what time do you have breakfast every day? ¿A qué hora te desayunas cada día? ¿A qué hora te desayunas cada día? ¿A qué hora te desayunas cada día? Number 5. My sisters put on makeup in their room. Mis hermanas se maquillan en su cuarto. Mis hermanas se maquillan en su cuarto. Mis hermanas se maquillan en su cuarto. Number 6. We go to bed very late. Nosotros nos acostamos muy tarde. Nosotros nos acostamos muy tarde. Nosotros nos acostamos muy tarde. And number 7, Pepito takes a bath in the bathroom. Pepito se baña en el baño. Pepito se baña en el baño. Pepito se baña en el baño. Okay, that is it for our lesson for today. Remember, the next slide you have 2 links so that you can practice, watch more videos, go back and watch this video as many times as you'd like so that you can continue to practice your reflexive verbs, verbos reflexivos. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Join us every Monday and Wednesday on Facebook Live for Spanish with Dr. Jackson. If you want to view the session again, visit cmgengage.com/virtual. See you next week.